And again, the campus presents a presidential forum. In about a minute here, our president, Stan Carrizosa, will answer your questions.
I'll do it.
Even if you don't have any questions, feel free to come, take a seat, and enjoy the show.
Face the camera, Eric. Sorry.
I'm done. Shout out to the cameraman.
Back out, moves back to the left. In, out. So if Carrizosa's talking up here, you want to zoom in on. Then you really should, because people can be talking like right here, so you want to move it like that, and then this is how you move it up, move it up like that, down.
Questions, are they going to send them here, right?
They're going to be like probably up here somewhere, so yeah, you want to zoom in on them too, like that, boom.
Okay, that's that.
It's streaming like
camera was running. I'm libertarian, by the way.
All right, COS students, faculty, everyone here listening to me talk now. If you'd like to get a take on what President Stan Carrizosa has to say about upcoming accreditation, we're also going to talk about other things like the new Cafe Deli that's being offered here at COS. But we're going to start off with accreditation. I know that's a big deal in everybody's minds. It's a big deal in the media, and we're here just to talk about it, get some things cleared up. So if you have a question, even if it doesn't regard accreditation or any of the topics we're talking about, just bring it forth, and I'm sure Mr. Carrizosa will be glad to answer that for you guys. So does anybody have a question now? If anybody has a question now, sorry about that. Go ahead and come forth. I'm just going to put the mic here, and you guys can kind of take it away.
In this area, COS is the largest educational center, and it's the only opportunity a lot of us have. What means are going about to where we can keep updated on what's going on and how we can get involved?
All right, thank you for that question. He talked about College of the Sequoias being really the largest educational entity in the area, and one of the ways that all of us count on in being able to get our education and advance our education. The second part of his question is, what means do we have in place to make sure that you as students can stay informed about everything that's going on? So let me respond to those questions and then add a little bit more information. First of all, we agree with you. We think College of the Sequoias is one of the largest educational entities in this region. And a couple of things that I want to remind you of is that we are an 86-year-old institution. We have generations of history of success. We've built incredible traditions of excellence. We have an award-winning nursing program. We've got our outstanding police academy. We have career technical vocational programs. We have our transfer programs. So even though we're in the face of an unfavorable accreditation, make no mistake, we are an outstanding institution. We've got some stuff to take care of, but we are an outstanding institution. So I agree with your comment about the importance of us in the area. Know this, that we've appointed an accreditation response task force. It's one of the first steps that we've taken. The task force is made up of faculty, classified staff, and students, administrators. There's about 45 members of the task force. They're meeting every week. And every Friday, we're producing what's called COS 2.0. Kind of like the updated version of your iPhone 5. And what we're talking about is it's our time now to hit the reset button, right? And COS 2.0 is how do we look going forward in the face of this accreditation. It's on the COS website, and if you go to the COS website and you click on the accreditation link, there's a whole new page there, different than anything you've seen before. It's got weekly updates from the task force work. It has weekly updates from our community advisory committee. And there's meeting notes there so that every student at any time can log on, click on that website, and see exactly what happened as recent as a week ago. The meetings are going on every Thursday. In addition to that, we have COS e-News, which goes out electronically via email to all of our subscribers, and those same updates are happening there regularly. In addition to that, we will be willing to come out in any settings on any intervals. If you guys want me to come out every week and give you an accreditation update, we'll do that. If you want me to come out every month, give you an accreditation update, we'll do that. So what I'm sharing with you is we have a full court press on. You have a faculty that cares about this institution, a community that cares about this institution, and a group of students that care about this institution. We're not going to let College of the Sequoias fail.
All right, guys, for the passerbys, you guys just walking by, what we're doing here is we're having a presidential forum. Up here with me on the stage is President Stan Carrizosa, and he's here to address student issues. So if you guys have an issue on campus, you guys want to get your voice heard, or you guys have concerns that you want all students to know about, this is the perfect opportunity for you guys to get your voice heard. If you guys have any questions, feel free to come up to the mic. If we don't have any questions, I'm just going to go ahead and pursue here and maybe ask Carrizosa some questions myself. Does anybody have a question out in the audience right now?
This guy.
Okay, go ahead and come on up.
I was wondering what happened with the last 6 years, 2006, 2012. Why didn't you guys, like, I don't want to be blunt or mean, but why don't you guys, like, got up and say, hey, we got to do something within this accreditation and started working together instead of at the last minute then do something? What about that time? Whose fault was it, you know?
Thank you. Thanks for that question. You don't have to be afraid with me to be blunt or anything else. Just say it like it is. Why didn't we handle our streets, huh? Here's what happened. We go through accreditation every 6 years. It's an important process because in order for us to be a viable institution, we have to be accredited. For you to be getting your credits here and having them transferable to a CSU, a UC, a private college, or for any certificate that you get from College of the Sequoias to be valid, we have to be an accredited institution. So the accreditation is important. It's a big deal. What happened 6 years ago, we went through accreditation. We had a number of things that we did very well on, a number of things. But there were 5 key areas that we got recommendations. The visiting team that comes in measures all of our programs. The recommendations they gave us were in the areas of institutional efficiency and effectiveness, how we operate, how we communicate, how we make decisions and plan. And the other area we got recommendations on have to do with what's called student learning outcomes. And it's the responsibility now of community colleges under the law to develop and test and review student learning outcomes for each of the courses that faculty offer on our campus. We had a report in 2006 that actually put us on warning. That's one of the levels of sanction that you can get. So we knew in 2006 we were a little behind in these areas. So we got on warning. What happens when you get put on warning is you have to give an annual report then every year. So we wrote a follow-up report in 2007 and we shared with the commission, here's the progress we're making on those 5 recommendations. We wrote another report in 2008 and then we wrote a report in 2009 and they came out for a midterm visit. So 3 years into our 6-year cycle, they came out again and spent a day and checked up on us. And what we were able to show them on paper is that we were making pretty good progress. So what they were expecting when they came back in 2012, which was the last 3 years of our term, is that we would have completed all that work. The challenge we faced is that during that same period of time, and I'm not making excuses, but I'm telling you my observations, during that same period of time, we had passed the 3 property taxes, one in Hanford, one in Tulare, one here in Visalia. We had done a modernization of this entire campus for construction, including 3 new buildings. We had built the new Hanford campus and got it started. We just completed the new Tulare campus and got it started. So the board and the administration were focused on monitoring hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayers' money to improve the facilities for our institution. And then right in the middle of that in 2009, we hit the worst economic recession in the history of the state, and we started dealing with budget cuts. So how do we reduce courses? How do we reduce faculty? How do we reduce services? So a lot of attention went into the expansion of the campus and then trying to manage the budget cuts. And unfortunately, in the meantime, those areas of student learning outcomes, we didn't make enough progress. Plain and simple. We got some work done, but we didn't get enough done. And when they came back, 6 years later, they went, wait a minute, in 2009 it looked like you guys were on track. We got here, you're not finished. We've given you a warning, and you had 6 years, so now it's time to handle your streets. Now you got to get it together. So we have a full court press on now to recover that lost time.
Thank you. Thank you. Answer my question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carrizosa. For those of you guys still, I'm going to repeat this a few times. For those of you guys walking by, we're meeting here with President Stan Carrizosa talking about school issues, campus-related issues, and student issues. If you guys have any of those, you guys would like to get something addressed or ask Carrizosa some questions, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm going to take the opportunity right now to address the email that was sent out to students. And for those of you who haven't checked your email, you should check that out. It went to your cos.edu email. It kind of breaks down what happens to your credits and degrees. And if you can go over that a little more, Mr. Carrizosa, just to let students know that what's going on now is still going on as planned.
The order that we got from the commission was because we had fallen behind in those areas that I talked about, we now have to do what's called show cause. And show cause are two words that come out of a broader sentence. And the sentence under the Commission's regulations is you have to show cause for why we should allow you to remain open as an accredited institution. So that means you're kind of on the edge now. You've got some things that you didn't take care of. We want to make sure that you will take care of them. So you have to show us a plan that gives us cause to continue to give you accreditation. They gave us until October of 2013. We have to submit our report in October, and they'll spend about a month reviewing our report, and then they'll come back out and visit us in November. So we've got to get most of the work done, correcting all of those issues this semester, finalize that work over the summer, and be ready to roll next fall. During that period of time, really for you as students, you shouldn't recognize any significant change. And the other thing that they assured us is that we are still, during this whole show cause period, we are still a fully accredited institution. So everything we're doing right now counts like it always did. Your credits that you're earning for your courses are valid. Anything that you complete now is completed from an accredited institution. Any eligibility you have for financial aid, for student assistance, everything remains in place. The only reason anything would change is if by October we weren't able to fully comply, then the Commission would have the authority, if they chose to take us to the next level, which then would be a closure kind of transition. I can tell you that we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we fully comply. And we believe that the challenges we're facing now are fixable solutions. The college has a good governing board, we have a talented faculty, and we're balancing our budget fiscally. So the major pieces that need to be in place for us to succeed are in place. Now it's just a matter of rolling up our sleeves, getting together, and getting the work done on these technical issues that we had fallen behind. But your credits, your courses, your degrees, and your financial aid are all intact, and everything remains the same until you're notified otherwise. And we're 100% confident that's not going to change.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carrizosa. For those of you walking by again, we're standing here with the president of the college, Mr. Stan Carrizosa, and he's here to voice concerns about COS and hear concerns. So if you guys have questions or comments, feel free to come. This is the presidential forum, the first of many to come. So if you guys would like to come down and ask a question or be informed in any way, come on down. Does anybody have a question out there?
For those of us preparing to graduate in the fall of this year, you said the closure process would start in October. Would that still mean our degrees graduating in the fall would count or be accredited?
Yes, thank you for that question. I'll clarify. The period of time that we have to submit our report is up until October. And I'll describe you the worst case scenario, even though I'm assuring you it's not going to happen, just so you guys would know what the next steps would be. If we submit a report in October and we get a visit in November from the team, and for whatever reason we didn't fully comply with the recommendations, we would still remain an accredited institution through 2014. So they don't come in October, they don't read our report in October and visit us in November and close the college in December. It's not how it works. First of all, we're not going to close. But secondly, if that were in a worst case scenario, the remaining 2013-14 year would be allowed to be completed. And then even for you as students, anything that you were in the progress of here, if you were midway through your degree, midway through your matriculation, midway through your transfer or your certificate, you would have a plan, you would have an assurance from the college that you would be transferable to another comparable institution. Your coursework is not going to be lost under any circumstances. However, I'm just going to reiterate, we're 100% confident we won't reach that point. But to give you some sense of calm, everything that's planned for the fall is on track and legitimate, and everything going forward will be legitimate once we get through our November visit.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Carrizosa. Does anybody else have a question out there right now? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I want to know if the COS is going to be closed, is the Tulare over there going to be closed too?
If for some reason the College of the Sequoias was not able to meet all the compliance requirements and had to close, remember our two campuses, Hanford and Tulare, are extensions of this college. We're one college with 3 campuses, so anything that would happen to one campus would happen to all 3. So the good news for me is I can assure you that if I'm telling you the Visalia campus will remain open, that means all 3 of our campuses will remain open as we comply with our accreditation.
Also, I wanted to know if we could make a petition for the college, because a lot of us are older, and I've been coming here since 1979. I was a single mile queen contest, and I earned my degree. I got my AS degree in business in 92, and then I kept on, and then I got married in 80, and then I kept on. I still got my degree in December of child development in 1999, and 3 times I walked from COS, and they let me, and I really appreciate about this community college, because it really gives you a really good ideas and to keep on going, and still looking for a job, and I'm still trying my best, and I tell my friends and my church members to come to COS, and because this is the best college that I've been going through, and I'm still going, and I'm still thinking, well, my grandkids, when they grow up, I want them to come to COS, and there's the best of the teachers here that I know for many years, and I worked at a library, and I want to see their happy faces to come and meet them every time I see them and say hi, and they are always there for me. There was a teacher last year there for student success, and she was really a really nice person, and she really helped us get through all this, and there's a lot of other teachers that have been helpful too, so I appreciate them too. And another thing, that it would be a good idea if everybody of us could write a letter to those persons that want to, shut us out, but we're one of the best colleges here in Visalia and in California. And so I think that everybody should try to get a petition. We can get a petition going on and keep doing this for ourselves, because we need it, because there's a lot of people out without jobs, and we're just trying to succeed and trying to live day by day and to continue our education in our life and with our families. I have 8 children, and there's probably a lot of other families out there that need help too. So, but we need help, and I'm willing to start a petition somewhere, and we can help each other, and we'll sign this. And so I've been here a long time, and I still want to continue my education here. And they've been helpful with me. I don't receive no financial aid, but I get a governor's waiver, and that's really helpful. And I even get help at the library when I don't have no money for books. So it's been helpful, and I've been really hearing about it, because I really found this out last week. But I really want to get a petition going on somewhere, if someone could think about an idea. But I think whoever is upset with COS or something, they should come forward and tell us. But I think somebody's been upset, and we just have to apologize to them and just come forward.
Let me respond to what you said. Thank you so much. Let me respond to what you said. First of all, thank you for sharing those great experiences with College of the Sequoias, and I think we have lots of stories like that. So there isn't anybody who got mad at College of the Sequoias. That's not what this process is like. It's really just a cycle of accreditation that institutions like ours need to go through. So your idea about some form of a petition from students or the opportunity for concerned students to write letters, the best thing to do if you have that interest is to either organize that or coordinate that and funnel it to the president's office. Right now what I'm doing is I'm accepting all of that kind of information and taking it to our accreditation response task force. And those kinds of documents, whether it's letters of support from students, petitions from students, or letters of support from the community or parents, all of those can be artifacts in the report that we send when we report back in October. So please feel encouraged by us to provide any of that kind of written feedback or input. Could be very valuable.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carasosa. For those of you guys kind of standing around the quad area, if you guys are not informed, we got the presidential forum going on right now, and if you're not here sitting down, you're definitely missing out. So come on down, ask your questions, get your voice heard on any concern or matter going on at COS. Real quick, I wanted to ask you, Mr. Carasosa, about the task force, and if you can elaborate a little more on that and kind of which direction is it headed in, and what are the plans to tackle the certain areas of that we got dinged with?
Okay, the 45-member task force meets every week, and in between those weekly meetings, the group has been broken up into subgroups. So of those 45 members, we're in smaller groups now, 6 or 7 different groups, and each of those smaller groups are focused on one of those areas, those 5 areas of recommendation that were cited in our report. And in those 5 areas of recommendation, there might be several standards that we didn't reach. So these subgroups are focusing on one chunk of that, each subgroup. In between our weekly meetings, they're reaching out to the rest of the faculty and student body. By the way, we have students on the committee now. I think by this week we'll be up to 6 student representatives out of a 45-member committee, which is a good number. And the students are sitting on each of the different committees, so we have a voice represented on all of those. And as they reach out to the rest of the faculty, they're taking a look at the standard. They're taking a look. The standards are pretty explicit. They tell us, here's the eligibility criteria you need to meet, and here's the recommended action you should take. So whether it's getting busy now and completing that process of student learning outcomes and specific assessments, and then a way to measure those and talk about them, that's one area of response. If it has to do with our institutional efficiency and effectiveness, and how do we communicate between the academic senate and the college council and the senior management council and the dean's council, and how does that interact with the board of trustees in making decisions, in organizing our planning, in applying research, and then in allocating the resources. That's the kind of stuff that we do on our campus, but when the team came to visit, we didn't have it tightly coupled. We didn't have clear connections between those so that an outside visitor could pull up a chart or a booklet and say, oh, here's how planning and decision making and resource allocation works at this institution. So we're getting all of that tightened up now, written down and put into diagrams and clarifying those points. And wherever we've had breakdowns in the past, we're fixing those breakdowns to make sure that the system works. So that's all the stuff that we're working on right now. We meet weekly. We have weekly checkups. In between, there's subgroup meetings, and we've set targets and timelines. And because we have summer coming up, we're going to try to get the bulk of this response work done by the end of May, first part of June, so that any staff who aren't here for summer don't miss out on the opportunity, and any students who aren't here for summer aren't going to miss out on the bulk of the progress that we're making. When we come back after summer, we'll refine that plan just a little bit. We're updating our school board every month at their meetings. The college board will have a public report every month. And then in September, we'll be bringing that final report to the board for public review. And then after that, it goes on in October. So we've got a pretty good plan to get the work done.
Okay, thank you very much. I also wanted to address a couple issues. Actually, not issues. I just wanted to ask 2 questions in one, kind of. Without putting the blame on any one of us, students, faculty, staff, administration, what can everybody in their own particular area do about helping with accreditation, and what can students do to help out? What can they do for their part in a sense?
A couple of things. One, I think anytime you get an invitation or something comes out via the student email blast through COS or on the COS webpage, anytime students are asked to come to a forum like this, to participate in a committee meeting, to come to a 1-hour open discussion about any of these topics, attend. That we're going to open up the doors for student participation, but we can't reach out and drag you in. We need you to come. You need to have student voices in this. You have some representatives in the process now, but we need groups like this. We need this many people standing around sometimes in a meeting talking from the student's perspective about how some of these things are going to work and get written down and get solidified. So number 1 is stay informed. Number 2, participate when you're asked. And then pay attention to the materials that we're going to put out. When the accrediting team comes back to visit us in November, they should be able to walk up to almost any one of us as students, and you should have a clue of what's going on with accreditation. You should be able to know what the accreditation is about. You should know that your campus has had a task force working on it and subgroups working on it. You should be able to talk about the process and know that you've been kept informed. So as I pointed out earlier, the web page is going to have regular information. If you go there now, there's already a couple of pieces that would be really helpful for you. One is the whole accreditation report is there. And if you wanted to read, here's the specific standards, the 5 areas that College of the Sequoias needs to strengthen. You can read those 5 areas there. Then there's an update that says, what does accreditation mean to me if I'm a student? And there's frequently asked questions, some of them like the ones we answered today. Read that, know how it affects you as a student. What does accreditation mean to me if I'm a faculty member? And read that, because then you'll have an understanding of what your faculty's going through. So use the web page. Pay attention to the communications that are coming out. Be informed, and when you're asked to get involved, get involved. And as one of your fellow students mentioned, if there is an interest in organizing either student contributions to the process, letters of support, personal experiences at College of the Sequoias, all of that information becomes really good addendum to the report that we send in.
Okay, guys, you guys heard it. Those of you guys are kind of tuning in here. Okay, go ahead. We got a question up here.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Roger Rubio. No, I'm trying to make this short. But right now, Mr. President, you're saying we will have 100% guarantee of passing. What I'm really worried about is not during this worry ward process that's going to pass. I think it's going to pass. What's going to happen after? Is everything going to go back to the way it was? Or what's the plan after accreditation? Because if we're going to pass, shouldn't we have a plan after? Or are you going to go back to those good points that you mentioned earlier in the future? Because I'm supposed to be here for a long time, I'm not supposed to be done so early, but I just don't want to see everything tore. I don't want the tower to be built this year and then the next year. And I think it's every student's concern as well.
That's a really thoughtful question. Thank you for that. Because it wouldn't mean a whole lot if we went through this exhaustive process and put some important changes in place and then just let everything snap back after the fact. So it's a very good observation. One of the things that we believe is going to happen through this accreditation is those changes that we've talked about, the ways that we're going to implement the student learning outcome process, the ways that we're going to strengthen the communication and the connection between how we make decisions, how we plan, and how we allocate resources are all going to become permanent structures now. It's not just something we're going to put together on paper to get past the review and then put it up on a shelf and forget about it. We're not going to do that. So the good news, I think, is we're using this as an opportunity to actually change the culture and the structures within the institution to govern more effectively going forward for the long term. We believe we're a great university, a great college now, a great institution now. We believe we're going to be even stronger as a result of this process, and we're going to be better, and we're going to stay better going forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carazos. Does anybody else have a question as of right now? Okay, come on forward.
I just have a comment towards the last question here. I've been a student for over about a year here at COS, and I've been to a lot of classes, and you begin a lot of classes, and I see a lot of students, and then by the time you end the class, right in the middle, I see a lot of students dropping out. I see a lot of people not effectively doing their work, not effectively using the college resources that you have. You have the counseling center, you have counselors, you have the library, you have the writing center, you have the math center. I just want to encourage a lot of students that But there's a lot of resources in this class, in this school. There's a lot of resources if you need help. And I understand that life happens and we have a lot of things outside of school that we're preoccupied with. But I don't think a lot of people are utilizing it. I'm in the library all the time. I don't see a lot of people. I think that it's important that it's encouraged that a lot of these students know that, hey, we're out here to help as well. The resources are here. The help is there. You just need to be able to utilize it. So I just want to add that.
That's a great comment. Thank you for that. I think it reaffirms the work of our staff and our faculty. A lot of the things that we did do well these last 6 years is we did put many of those structures in place. We have a lot of outreach programs for first-year students, for students who specialize in math and science, for students who are first-generation college attendees. We've got the library, we've got the counselors, as he mentioned, we have the writing center, we have the math center. So there really are a lot of resources. If you fail, sometimes it's because you didn't access those. You didn't come in and do your part. You didn't meet us at least halfway. So I support the comments that he made, and I appreciate that he recognizes those. And I would encourage all of you, just like he did, to access all of those resources. Because one of the things we want to do to be a really strong accredited institution going forward is we want to have good pass rates. We want to have good completion rates. We want to have good matriculation rates. And all of that happens through these services that we have available to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carasosa. We got a question.
Good afternoon. I'm Emmanuel. This is something totally separate. This is another problem that I see. I'm not sure if it's last semester that we had, or last semester, where we had $75,000 in financial aid, which report card is doing straight F's. Is there anything that we could do, or you guys could do, so we can better regulate financial aid and give it to students that actually will utilize it in the proper way, and not giving it to students that come in and take advantage of the system, pretty much?
Yeah, thank you. That's a powerful observation, and it's such a challenge across the state that it's now actually part of legislation being promoted by the governor. So one of the things is that's a critical issue across the state, that students secure their eligibility for financial aid. They come in and they receive their financial aid, but then they don't either perform successfully in their classes or they don't achieve the goals of their individual education plan. What the governor's realized is the only way to really attack that statewide is to legislate it. So what's happening in the governor's proposal is there are now the beginning of criteria that are going to be put in place under the law that says how you will receive your financial aid, not your whole check at once, for example, but your financial aid in increments, and those increments will be based on your successful completion. So you might get a portion of your financial aid enough to start and sustain yourself for semester 1, but you don't get semester 2 unless you do successful on your GPA, you pass a minimum number of classes, you have no drops, no withdrawals. So that's going to become law. And it's something that, it's kind of been taken out of our hands, but in some ways, because it's a statewide issue, that's probably one of the things that is better legislated, and that way we're all, at community colleges, we're all treated the same. No individual can feel like they're singled out. But the bottom line for us as financial aid recipients is we're going to have to carry our weight in order to get our funding. The government can't afford to pay anymore for financial aid that doesn't turn into successful student achievement.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, once again, for those of you guys who are walking by, don't know what's going on, we're having the presidential forum. I'm standing here with our president of COS, Stan Carasosa, and we're addressing issues, student issues, campus-wide issues. And just real quick, many students might not know, but you might know, summer school is returning for this semester. We're going to have summer school 2013, which is a huge plus for a lot of students campus-wide, I'm sure. What does the future look like as far as summer school in the future and kind of progressing? Is that looking like an annual thing? And can you elaborate a little on this year's summer school?
Yeah, we want summer school to be an annual event again, Nick. We feel like the 2 years that we had to go without the summer session was a tremendous disadvantage for our students. Even though we're bringing it back this year in a modified version, it's been out of cycle for 2 years. It's coming back in a scaled down version because we have a limited budget to offer it. What we're hoping is, as the state economy improves and as our budget gets a little bit better from the state, that the number one priority for our Board of Trustees, when they have to reinstate things that have been cut or lost, is that they continue supporting the reinstatement of full summer school every year going forward. So this year we're offering summer school in a modified version. It'll be on the Visalia campus and on the Hanford campus. We're not able to offer it at Tulare this first summer because you'll remember that the Tulare campus just opened in January. We've got our first group of classes, students, and teachers over there. In addition to that, because it's all new construction, there's a punch list of things on that construction that we have to work on. You know, an air conditioner that doesn't kick on, a water faucet that doesn't shut off, some sidewalks that need to be leveled, all of those kinds of things that happen in a big construction project like that. So we're making that punch list, and we're going to get in there this summer when the campus is closed, fix all of those final issues on construction so we're good to go. We can send the contractors on their way, and we'll have summer school at Tulare in the summer of 2014.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carrizosa.
I've heard a couple different reasons of why the Tulare Library isn't open. Could you further elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, we've got a couple of reasons. One is we're trying to get the technology fully installed. There's a nice set of new modern technology that's going in, but the installation of multiple portals for technology and getting them all tied into the district-wide software and everything else, with just a handful of technicians working on it, takes a little bit of time. Second thing is we've had to, because we don't have a lot more money, and even though we grew, we didn't grow with additional resources. We grew with our budget actually being cut. We have to take some of the resources here from the Visalia campus library and the Hanford campus library and try to spread them out. So we're looking to get not only all the online accesses available and the bookshelves a little bit more equipped, but to get enough staffing resources over there to be able to open it and have it be consistently open for students. We're working on that. It's our number one priority. I think the main thing right now from getting some limited hours of opening is to get all the technology up and running, because that's going to give students the most information access while we try to get more books and references on the shelves. So I'd say that should be coming up in our near future. We apologize that it's taken us a little while to get it open, but there's a lot of technology to get installed and only a handful of people working on it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Carrizosa. Does anybody else have a question? So for those of you guys kind of walking by, again, we're having the presidential forum. I'm speaking with Mr. Stan Carrizosa, our COS president. Okay, we got a question coming up here.
Are they gonna send more tutoring in Hanford area, Hanford School?
You want to ask on the microphone?
Are you gonna have more tutoring in Hanford?
Are we going to have more tutoring in Hanford? Again, the Hanford and the Tulare campus are being staffed now with us reprioritizing and sorting out some of the resources from the Visalia campus. So I don't know right now specifically if there's a plan to expand tutoring in Hanford, but I know that as we look to start next year, we're going to reprioritize our resources and try to distribute as much to the two centers as we can based on the number of students at each of those areas. Because what happened is Hanford and Tulare campuses have grown, the Visalia campus has reduced a little bit because some of the students were here and now they're moving over there. So we will do our best to try to get more tutoring over there based on the number of students that we're trying to serve.
Can you do this year?
I don't know. I'd have to work with our provost, Dr. Hollabaugh. She's the one who really has the kind of budget and the staffing charged for the services over there. I can share with her that you brought that concern forward to us, and she can review and revise what she's got a plan for this year.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you for asking.
Okay, does anybody else have a question? Anybody like to voice concern, maybe make a comment? This is a broader topic, Mr. Carrizosa. I don't know if it's hit home yet, but after the coming over the trigger cuts, Prop 30 passing in our favor, we kind of were looking up, and then the accreditation deal came down, and now sequestering cuts are looking to cut some major money here. Like I said, it hasn't hit home yet, but do you see that in the near future?
Everything that we've been able to read so far, Nick, in terms of how sequestration at the federal level may affect actual dollars for California and specifically for education, is it's probably going to have But while it's a big deal and they're talking about it, it's probably going to have a minimum effect, if any, on education. The sequestration does actually impose a series of cuts that were agreed upon if the Congress wasn't able to agree on an alternate budget. The majority of those are in Department of Defense. There are some other health and human services that will be affected, but in terms of the Federal Department of Education and any categorical money that might come to us, it looks like we're going to be under the radar with regard to a direct impact from sequestration.
Well, all right, that's good news so far.
That is good news.
Okay, for those of you students that might have not known, the COS does have a new deli available for students. Just another food alternative. We've kind of pushing some buttons last semester to get another food alternative, and now we have it. So I don't know if you students are utilizing the cafe or not. Gone down a few times, and it's not too bad. I want to maybe ask you a couple questions as to, I know that's not permanent. Are there any alterations that are planned or any updates, or can you give me an update on that?
Sure. Thank you guys for bringing that need to our attention throughout the first semester. And even though there were some technical and legal reasons why we couldn't simply set up another vendor in there like a Subway or Chick-fil-A or any of those, you all understood, and we heard you loud and clear, that you wanted more options, more choices. So we tried to mobilize quickly over the winter break to establish at least the beginning of a COS cafe, in addition to the menu that's already in there and the contract we have with Carl's Jr. We think the cafe has gotten off to a good start, but it's just the start. And what is permanent is that we do want to continue to refine and expand their menu. And in particular, we want to pay attention to the facility this summer. So Vice President Calvin is working with our Director of Facilities. We think that one of the things that'll make the cafeteria more attractive is to give it a little bit of a facelift, take it out of what the current status is, which it looks kind of like a cafeteria, and move it more into the model of a food court in terms of how it's painted, how it's floored, how it looks, how we arrange the tables, how we pipe in the music, and just create a setting that allows for more diverse groups of students to attend, and have different areas that are more welcoming to different groups of students. And in addition to that, continue to beef up the menu, beef up the signage, and provide more options through the cafe.
Well, all right. I think students are really looking forward to that. I know I am. So
I was going to call, you guys, anybody watch the Food Network?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I was going to call Restaurant Impossible and have them come in and do an extreme makeover on our restaurant. But we're going to try and do our bit first, and then we'll take that approach if we have to.
Hey, you never know. Okay, well, I'm going to ask you real quick about the football program. Recently, the football program was put on probation for what turned out to be some misunderstanding with some regulations. Would you mind talking about that, maybe informing students about what the deal with that is, and maybe a look to the COS football program and what kind of damper that might put in that?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question also. You know, recently we've had a couple of big things that affect the football program. One, and I need to explain this first, Coach Doherty has submitted his letter of resignation, and he has taken the opportunity to take a new job as an athletic director. And you need to know right up front, that didn't have anything to do with the fact that we were inadvertently involved in a circumstance that resulted in our program getting sanctioned. He had actually begun the process of exploring this new job opportunity back in December before we knew anything about the possible sanctions. I think it's a great move for Coach Doherty. He's a longtime Visalia guy, and we appreciate him and supported everything that he did for our local high schools and for our college program. But the opportunity he got to go to a private school on the island of Maui where his wife grew up and his in-laws have property, he gets the chance to be athletic director at a private school where his children will get the opportunity to attend school there. So it was a wonderful move for his personal and professional career. It does leave us now, though, in the process of looking for our new head coach. And I'd be lying if I said it's not ideal to go looking for a new head coach when your program just got hit with a sanction. But the sanction is explainable. It was inadvertent. Nobody intentionally set out to break any rules. The bylaws, the way they're written for our College Football Commission, don't allow any faculty member from a community college to interact with high school age athletes while they're still in high school in any kind of an all-star or football game or benefit like that. As our staff was reading those regulations, they thought that they were compliant because while they're a faculty member here on the campus, they're not associated at all with the football program. And they thought you couldn't be in contact with high school age athletes if you were a football coach and you were having a football game. But what the bylaws actually said is you can't be any kind of a coach on a college campus. So whether you coach track or girls softball, you still can't come into contact with football athletes while they're seniors in high school. So we didn't intend to break the guideline, but we did, and we have to take responsibility for that. When the commissioner sent us his letter, he explained that also written into their bylaws, the article says that if you violate this law, because there's a fairness that has to be applied to recruiting. A college can't have an unfair access to students. If we were just to host a bunch of high school seniors to come here and play a all-star football game, then they might look around and go, hey, we really like College of the Sequoias, and we had an unfair advantage then over other colleges that weren't able to bring them to their campus. So it's not allowed. But based on that, the penalty is your program has to go into probation for a year. Probation doesn't mean you don't get to play. Probation doesn't affect the student's financial aid, doesn't affect anything. We get to play. We play our non-conference games, we play our conference games, and we can still win a conference championship. What the probation does is it says we're going to watch you closely for a year now because you were in violation of this rule, and we want to make sure that you don't violate that rule any longer. The sanction that comes at the end of the probation is because you broke the rule, next year you can't participate in any post-conference competition. So we might be able to win a conference championship, but if that conference championship was supposed to allow us to go to a bowl game and play, that's where we would be prohibited. We're not eligible for a bowl game. There is an appeal process, and we've requested the materials to consider appealing because we think that the ruling, while it was accurate, was also based on a circumstance that was unintentional. Nobody tried to do anything sneaky. Nobody tried to hide anything. We thought we were within the guidelines, but we weren't. So we're at least going to consider appealing on that basis. And if they decide to give us a lesser penalty because of that, then our players won't have to pay the cost for it. If we try and they don't change the sanction at all, we can at least go to our players and our coaches and say, we tried every avenue we could to treat the college as fairly as possible.
All right, sounds like a big misunderstanding. We got about 10 more minutes of the presidential forum, so if anybody really has a question or they have a concern or they just want to voice their opinion, go ahead and come on up. Feel free to do that within the next 10 minutes, and we're going to be closing up shop here. I wanted to finish off the forum talking about the accreditation. It seems like the biggest deal going on now. It's really big news for the community of Visalia. I've seen some articles in the newspaper about, Fresno State might be hurt big time if sanctions didn't get corrected. Is there any sneak peek that you could possibly give us of tomorrow's update? I know that the accreditation task force is meeting tomorrow. Is there anything that you know of that is updated or any kind of updated information that you can provide us with?
Of course. I think each of the subgroups, when we left the committee meeting last week, each of the subgroups was charged with having a meeting now, another meeting in between, at least one meeting in between the weekly meetings to get to work on their areas. They've been exchanging emails, staff have been reaching out to other faculty members, and what's going to happen tomorrow is everybody's going to come back having had at least 1 week to take their set of standards out there and start looking at them with colleagues to come back and say, here's what we've found out, here's our plan of action, what we hope each subcommittee comes in with tomorrow, well, not what we hope, what we ask each subcommittee to come back with tomorrow is not only a review of your standards and who else you're reaching out to get involved in your process, but what's your timeline? Give us a calendar because we know school ends in May. How many times will you meet? And at each of those meetings, how many of these standards and issues do you intend to get addressed so that we can put that together and have kind of a complete action plan for the committee to respond to all the standards. In addition to that, the committees are going to tell us what other kinds of resources they need. Are there technology resources that they may need? Do we need to look at campus-wide or district-wide software in order to be able to better house some of this information, to be able to better store it and retrieve it? Do we need the help of a technical assistant or a consultant in a particular area? Maybe one of the administrators from another college who's recently been through this can come over and spend a meeting with us explaining how their college responded to the issue, and we get some support and information from them. So that's the intent of tomorrow's meeting, is to take the first 1 week checkup and get a review of everybody from what they've studied in their standards, and then a timeline that they have to complete their work so that we can keep each other on track between now and the end of the semester.
All right, well, let's hope they got some good news to bring forth. I know, let's understand, from my understanding, the task force was chosen through personal talents that each faculty might have in a specific area. Is my correct? Is that how the task force was chosen? Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Sure. The task force was actually appointed by the President's office, and I sought consultation from all of our senior managers, and we sat down. The first thing I did is I talked with the chairman of the Accrediting Commission, Dr. Barbara Bino. She's the chairperson for the commission who gave us our sanctions, and I asked her, how do other colleges approach responding? And she gave me some thoughts and input and ideas. And then we talked to a couple of the other community colleges, Cuesta Community College in particular, who have recently gone through this process. And they just got off of their sanctions, and so, or at least their show cause order. And so what everybody said from top to bottom was, establish a committee that has people who you know have no other agenda than to come in and do the hard work necessary to help the college succeed. Don't allow your committee process to become a forum for any other issues. If you've got other things you're working on your campus, whether it's contract negotiations or personnel matters, solve those in the appropriate settings outside of your task force, but make sure your task force has people who want to come in and focus solely on getting the issues resolved. So we put our heads together and we generated names of faculty, staff members, and we recruited names of students to participate. And we sent out personal invitations, and everybody who accepted was appointed based on having received that invitation. Remember though, and I told everybody this at the first meeting, just because we're the task force doesn't mean we're special. You know, we still have to go out now in our subgroups, and we have to hook every other group we can. So anybody who isn't on the task force can still have plenty of opportunities to participate. In fact, we need you to participate or we won't get all the work done. So the task force is just kind of the steering committee, and then from there we do outreach to get more folks involved.
All right, sounds to me like you guys got a pretty good plan to get this school back on track. We're going to go ahead and close it up. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and come forth now. But for right now, I wanted to wrap up kind of what was said today. As far as students, a lot of you guys that are out here still listening, we can take part in this accreditation process, and that's basically attending forums just like the one we have here, where you can address concerns, voice your opinion. We've had some comments today about maybe getting some signatures involved and maybe some letters to the president's office, and that's always encouraged by Mr. Carrizosa himself. It shows that students care, and it shows that we do want this school to succeed. Also, we had some comments about the Tulare and Hanford Centers. If you guys didn't get updated on that, be sure to watch the video. This is being streamed live, and it'll also be up on our website, coscampusonline.com, after the matter. And you guys will be able to watch this whole video. And like we said, if you guys had any other further comments, letters to the president's office, and for the campus newspaper, we are always accepting letters to the editor. So you can voice your opinion that way. So Mr. Carrizosa, thank you very much for taking your time to come out here and talk with us today.
It's my pleasure, you guys. Thank you, and I look forward to our next opportunity. I think at least while we're going through our accreditation period, and if not, just forevermore, these opportunities once a month or so are the highlight of my day, so please don't ever hesitate to ask. I look forward to our next time out.
All right, good to hear. Thank you.
It's also a long time to hold my stomach in.